Yo, so this is Massacre Girl. Last year, I went on a crazy spending spree for Magic the Gathering. Whenever I meet somebody who likes Magic the Gathering as much as I do, I go nuts. And at one point, I was just making if I thought the character was really cool, I wanted to make a deck around them. Specifically, I mean, they had to have a cool mechanic as well. At one point, I was thinking about dismantling this deck because a lot of the cards, in my opinion, they don't really, maybe I'm not looking at it, enough. It just reminds me more of a generic deck, honestly. It's a straight up Wrath deck. Massacre Girl is all about killing everybody, murdering every creature on the board. Its biggest weakness, especially this deck, not necessarily Massacre Girl. I figured out potentially a way of making this deck specifically better. A lot more. I think the biggest thing is like token generation would probably be the best thing. Because this deck in particular is more of a reactionary or completely reliant on my opponents and their boards. If I'm playing against 3 Voltron decks, for example, which is some people don't know what Voltron, it's just your legendary creature commander gets buffed the fuck out with equipments and auroras and some other things too. There's other things, but I mean, this deck is, like I said, it's very reactionary. The reason why I'm not sure about dismantling it, or maybe I'll update it or whatever, is I was like playtesting it against like my favorite decks, and it won. I'm not gonna say it's gonna win every time, but it fucking was fast. It was faster than my elf deck, dude. That impressed me. And I don't think it's gonna happen every time, but obviously this would probably be very good against, say, an elf deck or a goblin deck. Any token generation deck, token generators, sorry. But I was in a deck building spree last year, and Massacre Girl fucking caught my eye as like a very interesting mechanic. Because I'm sure there are more board wipes, but I don't know, man. This is a very salty deck for sure too, but I don't know, man. I focus a lot of the creatures on other people's creatures dying, but a lot of them do say whenever a creature dies specifically. There's this one Wrath for dragons and non-dragons. At one point that was pretty relevant. Someone sent that to me when I bought a bunch of cards, and that was in there. Right now that card's pretty expensive, I think. I mean, it probably makes a reason. I understand why, because of the Tarkir set that just came out. I can't remember exactly what it's called right now, but it was relevant because most of the time, most people wouldn't have dragons, so you could just say all non-dragons and just kill the entire board. But there might be a dragon lying around every now and again. But I mean, once again, it's just filled with Wrath. It's a very salty deck. I'm all about ramping. There's also this little bit of a sub theme of Voltron, just in case. Once again, in an all Voltron game. I still don't know how soon I'll be making a CEDH deck. I want to make one so bad, but a lot of them, as far as I'm seeing, are like a lot of them are like tutors and a lot of countering, and having tuition of what cards combo off other cards potentially, or what is coming up. But a lot of it, once again, is money based. So I also didn't know what Connive was for a while. Just sometimes I forget. It's relevant. I looked it up. Maybe I'll remember when I'm fucking talking about it in the breakdown. I might not even break this down. I mean, you see all the cards. Just once again, it's a pretty easy deck. I don't know if I should even have to explain this deck. If you see the cards, you can read them. You could pause the video. I don't know if I'm going to be making hour-long videos explaining decks. And once again, if I were to do a playtest of this deck, every time I've done one, it's just purely reactionary, and it's not as fast as what I would. I mean, you know, like I said, like I want to do CEDH level, and that like until I get to that level, I'm not going to be like, I guess, happy or whatever. But I do, you know, sometimes you just got to make a fucking deck that's fun. And with Commander especially, it's a very social political game, extremely social political. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna. I mean, I'm gonna put my, you know, the breakdown, the Arcade Deck or whatever website, whatever the fuck. It'll be in the down below, whatever the fuck, man. It'll be there. You know, if you're really that interested. I just don't think I'm gonna do a whole hour long, because I was thinking about even potentially just making Massacre Girl the commander for my zombie deck, but there are a lot of blue black zombies. And, you know, I mean, you got the fucking rooftop, whatever. I also, you know, when I was at my local trading card store, they were selling a bunch of like deck boxes and stuff. And I was able to pick up Massacre Girl's deck box and her sleeves. That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, once again, it's a Wrath deck. It's very reactionary. That's pretty much it, man. All right, I'm just gonna quickly go through it. Fuck it. Salty. It's super salty. If typically people want it to be a 38, this is fucking 10 points at least over it. Let me see. It doesn't matter, like what, 15 maybe points or so. It's a Voltron aggro. I'd say it's pretty aggro. I mean, in my definition, you know, you're just constantly fucking people up, fucking the board up. A lot of ramp. I'm all about ramp, and then +1/+1 counters. But there's a little bit of a sub theme of Voltron. Massacre Girl. Whenever she enters, each other creature gets +1 or -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Conjurer's Closet blanks Massacre Girl, so I can do her effect twice in a turn. Dingus Staff, I decided to go other people's creatures, so whenever a creature is put into a graveyard, any graveyard from play, Dingus Staff deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Mirage Mirror, nice to copy. A bunch of counters, typically a lot of them are whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each, or put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. This one says it for each vampire. So I have a couple vampires in the deck. It's not it's typically just for himself. It's just nice to have big, beefy creatures that will stick around when Massacre Girl drops. Typically, as long as, once again, it's not like a Voltron. Like, I'm not playing against three different Voltron decks. They're all pretty much the same. This one, Dross will probably die before I lose the game unless someone's really smart and knows how to, you know, keep it alive, them alive. But whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, its controller loses 2 life. Blood Artist is kind of not as, you know, it's only doing it to one player instead of each opponent. It's still fine, you know, I get to gain some life. Bloodchief Ascension, and then whenever an opponent loses 2 life each turn, at the end of each turn, end step, you may put a quest counter, and then if it's got 3 or more, then whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, and it has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, I gain 2 life, so that's nice little, you know, gain life, make people lose life, drain, etc. Drivnod allows whenever a creature dying causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers a second time or an additional time. Sanguine Bond, I have Exquisite Blood, so that's a nice little combo. Sanguine Bond is whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Exquisite Blood is whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. That's a nice little infinite combo, just 2 card, drop them both. I mean, you obviously need to have somebody lose some life before you can do that, but it shouldn't be too hard. Bolas' Citadel, if I'm making a bunch of... Well, I didn't get there yet. Sir Conrad the Grim, whenever another creature dies or another creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. Bolas' Citadel. If I'm gaining life, or at least have some life, or I'm willing to lose some life, I can play some cards for free based on them being on the top of my library. We got Greed, another way of drawing cards, but at the expense of losing life. Harvester of Souls, whenever a non-token creature dies, I may draw a card. Massacre Girl, the other one. Creatures you control have Wither, but the more important ability, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it's if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. Necrosynthesis keeps, typically, it's, if I need to keep a creature alive that doesn't typically stay alive when a bunch of creatures die. That's a way of doing it. And then also, if it dies, when it dies, I can look at the top X cards, where X is its power, put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Shadows of the Past allows me to scry when a bunch of creatures die. I'm scrying 1, but I can probably go through, find the right card. Maybe not. Vogar, whenever a creature dies during my turn, put a 1/1 counter on Vogar, and then when he dies, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Cabal Stronghold is a it's a cheaper in terms of price value, but it costs more mana value to use in comparison to Cabal Coffers, I think is the other one, which I have in my zombie deck. I just didn't feel like dropping another $30 or $40. Rogue's Passage, classic. Spymaster's Vault allows typically, I'm going to do it on Massacre Girl most likely. Allows me to connive X. X is the number of creatures that die this turn, which connive is you draw a card and then you discard a card. So if you're going to be, say, 7 creatures die, then you're drawing and discarding 7 cards. And then I think it's like for each non-land card that goes into the graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that is conniving. As far as I remember. Exquisite Blood, as I already mentioned. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Lightning Greaves, classic. Commander card. Blackblade Reforged. This is kind of a, I might replace it with something a little better, but quick creature gets +1/+1 for each land I control. And also it costs 3 to equip for a legendary creature. Scythe Claw. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. Kind of cool. Man, I got a bunch of removal. I'm not going to go through all of them. Crux of Fate is hilarious. I mean, it's worth a little bit more now, $6, probably because of the Tarkir set. But so yeah, this was just randomly given to me when I bought some of these cards. It was a good idea at the time. I mean, it's kind of like a wild card kind of card, I guess. Unless someone's got like a dragon out or whatever. Decree of Pain allows me to draw a card for each creature that died this time, or for this, destroy all creatures, can't be regenerated, and then you draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Final Act, board wipe. Force of Despair is an instant board wipe. Specific board wipe. Destroy all creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. So if someone, makes like 1,000 or, 1,000,000 elves or whatever, goblins, kill them all. Last Laugh, whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh is put into a graveyard from play, Last Laugh deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. And then when there are no creatures in play, sacrifice Last Laugh. Maha, it's Feathers of Night. Creatures your opponent control have base toughness 1. Pretty classic. Helps with also having the other Massacre Girl out. Massacre Wurm. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, this player loses 2 life. For some reason, it reminds me of Sandy and the Worm from SpongeBob. Sandy being Massacre Girl. Whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. And the other is when it enters, creatures your opponent's control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Nice combo with Massacre Girl. Mutilate for each swamp. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. For each swamp I control. 1 ring to rule them all is a slow burn. destroy all non-legendary creatures on the second step. And then the third step, each creature loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. Overseer the Damned, I'd probably put it in more of a token generator. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Nice little generator to help kill a bunch of, help me generate more deaths in the turn or whatever. Pestilence, I sure it's been updated, but do 1 damage to each creature and to all players. If there are no creatures in play at the end of any turn, Pestilence must be discarded or put into the graveyard. Shriveling Rot, I use it for whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, that creature's controller loses life equal to its toughness. Sudden Spoiling, split second. Creature's target player controls become 0/2 and lose all abilities until end of turn. Split second is as long as the spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Toxic Deluge is classic. Phyrexian Plague Lord helps with Massacre Girl. Sacrifice a creature. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Just in case, one creature's just about to die, but, you just need to push them over the edge. Or if there's someone that's got like a big fucking creature that needs to die. I think if you give him -1/-1, it can kill Indestructible. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure. Because you're actually not doing damage to it. You're just literally you're just taking its life away. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni, Undying Partisan, and then sacrifice another creature. It gains Indestructible until end of turn. Nice, so if, keeping them alive, and just a nice little way to sacrifice something if need be. Recursion, Grave Betrayal. Whenever a creature you don't control dies, return to the battlefield under my control with an additional +1/+1 counter on it at the beginning of your next end step. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other zombie or other colors and types. Sorry. Rise of the Dark Realms. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Pretty expensive, 9-drop. This one's a little bit better, I guess, for Massacre Girl. Put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. I already mentioned, I think, Blackblade, Reforged, and Scytheclaw. Arcane Signet, classic, Black Market. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black mana for each charge counter on Black Market. Cage Sun, pick a color. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+1, and then whenever a land ability causes you to add 1 or more mana of the chosen color, add 1 additional mana of that color. Crypt Ghast, whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black mana to your mana pool. It's got Extort. Fellwar Stone. I mean, you could essentially... Well, never mind. Wait, is that... yeah, whenever you cast a spell. So, essentially, this pays for its own Extort whenever you play a spell. Essentially, with as long as it's all black mana or black colored or a black deck, whatever. Fellwar Stone, Gilded Lotus, 3 of any one color when you tap it. Drop 5-drop though. Jet Medallion, black spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth, for each black mana in a cost, you may pay 2 life other than pay that mana. And then whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. Mind Stone, classic. Revel in Riches. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Soul Ring, classic. Sword of Hearth and Home. It's kind of like Conjurer's Closet. When I deal combat damage, it'll blink. I would probably pick Massacre Girl on my commander. And then I also get a basic land card from my library. Nice little ramp. Sword of Animist. Whenever I attack, I can put a basic land card from my library onto the battlefield tap. tapped. Seance board, it's kind of can be a slow burn, but at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, put a soul counter on Seance board, and then I can tap it to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of soul counters on Seance board. Spend this mana only to cast instant, sorcery, demons, and spirit spells. I'll be predominantly casting instant or sorceries, though I do have a couple of demons. I might have a spirit in there, but probably not. I just see I got Ob Nixilis, Unshackled. This ability, that's annoying. Whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. That's fucked up. That's fucked up stacks. And whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis, Unshackled. I think Contamination was probably the truest stacks of stacks for black. At the beginning of my upkeep, sacrifice Contamination unless you sacrifice a creature, and then if a land is tapped for mana, it produces black mana instead of any other type of an amount. So that's just gonna I'm playing against 3 other decks that don't have any black in them, they're fucked. Black in their decks. Then we got Beseech the Queen. Search your library for a card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Insatiable Avarice. Search your library for a card, then shuffle and put it on top, and then target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. Not the best tutors, just all I can afford or all I had lying around. Then Liliana Vess, I might be able to tutor twice before she gets knocked out. Maybe. Search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Could be better for a tutor, but once again, it is what it is. Where's the hold on, stats. We got the average mana value. I try to do a lot more in the 2s and 3s range for mana values, but this one, because of probably the wraths, you're seeing a lot more, I would say, mid-game activities. Hence why once again throwing some ramp is not bad. If I were to change this deck up, I probably would go a little bit more token based, and then whenever my tokens die, people lose life. That's probably where I would actually go with her. That's probably what I would do if I do end up updating her. There's not too many changes that I'd have to do for her. I might have an extra copy, which I don't think I'm going to make a pure black zombie deck, but maybe. Maybe. I only have pretty much kind of more of a splash of blue in my black-blue zombie deck. So, but the blue cards are just so good. You can't, it's just making sure I got everything. If I mentioned what's going to sack outlets, I think I said everything. I've play tested it, but it's way more, like I said, of a reactionary deck. Like I said, if I were to change it up, I'd probably make it more token based in some way, in many ways, so that I get benefits for my creatures dying rather than relying on other people's creatures dying. Because it's best not to rely on another, that's more of a gamble. Because once again, what if I'm playing against 3 Voltrons? Then I'm just completely dicking around. Most of my cards are just fucking obsolete, just non-functioning. Whereas I might do that. So we'll see. But that's it for now. It's not a bad deck, and like I said, it actually beat my elf deck but that was a one-time thing, and maybe it would do it every time because once again, it's perfect for a token generating deck. Token generating. Anyway, that's pretty much it. We'll just call it a day, I guess.